So Sony just held their first State of Play presentation for the year of 2021, and PS5 owners such as myself were wondering, well, what are they going to show during this presentation? Obviously, we have two games dated with Returnal and Ratchet & Clank for the PlayStation 5, but right now there's not a whole lot of stuff going on, so it was going to be very interesting to see what Sony brought to this presentation roughly a week after a Nintendo Direct presentation. Well, the State of Play event just wrapped up and it was something. It was something. What's going on, guys? I'm RGT85. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and be sure to like the video. But without any further ado, let's talk about the Sony State of Play event, what I liked about it, and maybe what I didn't like about it. So kicking things off, we got a trailer for Crash Bandicoot 4 on the PlayStation 5. Yes, very recently, Crash Bandicoot 4 was announced to be coming to the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X, and the Nintendo Switch, and this was a showcase for the PlayStation 5 version of the game. Now, the game will feature 4K graphics, adaptive trigger use, and 3D audio. The game is targeting 60 frames per second as well, and will feature less loading than the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One versions of the game did. Now, honestly, one thing that's sort of holding this version of the game back for me is the fact that this will be a $60 game. Now, if you have a PlayStation 4, you can get the PlayStation 4 version of the game and then upgrade to the PlayStation 5 version of the game for, I think it's $15, so that's not too bad. But if you don't own it on anything and you want to just pick it up on the PlayStation 5, it's going to be a $60 game, and I'm just not too sure that that's right for me. The Nintendo Switch version of the game is also coming out at the same date in March 12th for the Nintendo Switch, and that game is only going to be $40. So this trailer didn't really do much for me. You know, Crash Bandicoot 4 still looks great, but it was kind of questionable to start off with a game that's already released and just the upgrade for this game. And as you'll see as we go throughout this presentation, there were lots of questionable decisions made. Now, the next game up was Returnal, which is a game that, once again, there's been lots of buzz around it, but there's been some questions about whether or not this is going to be a $70 purchase for a lot of people. Now, I do think Returnal has a lot of good things going for it. I think the combat looks interesting enough. There's lots of dashing and bullets flying around. Of course, there's different weapons. Every time you die in the game and restart it, the map changes with enemies placements as well, and different enemies will be in different places. So kind of like a roguelike game, which some people really like it, some people don't like it. I'm kind of sick of 2D roguelike games, but I think a 3D roguelike game could be really fun if it's done well. I think the game does look very beautiful in terms of visuals. It looks really awesome, but I'm just kind of worried about the overall price of this game being $70. As far as the story is concerned, you're sort of piecing together your memories on this strange planet that you are now on. Of course, your home from your normal planet is on this planet for some reason, so obviously there's going to be some sort of supernatural stuff. Not a bad looking game, but still I'm kind of on the fence about this game being $70. And once again, this is a game that we've seen a bunch already, so I didn't really need to see all that much more, but I did think this trailer was probably the best trailer that we've seen so far for Returnal in general. Next up was Knockout City, which was that dodgeball game that we saw during the Nintendo Direct presentation. Now, this is going to be available on the PlayStation 4. I mean, the levels look kind of fun, the gameplay looks interesting enough, but I really just can't imagine this game doing very well unless it's a free-to-play game, and it's not a free-to-play game. It's going to be a $20 game. Obviously, games like this sort of thrive on a player community, and I don't really know how many people are going to be willing to jump into Knockout City, considering there's so many free-to-play games that are similar in this style. You know, looking at the Nintendo Switch, you got Fortnite, Ninjala. Like, I don't think this game is going to be very successful no matter the platform. But yeah, Knockout City was at this event, so that's kind of interesting. Next up was a game called Sifu, which was a stylized ninja game shown for the PlayStation 5. I thought it looked interesting enough, you know, a beat-em-up style game. The graphics looked pretty nice, but I'm going to assume that this isn't a full-fledged title. It definitely looks more like a smaller budget game, an indie game, maybe sort of a middleware game, but they didn't really talk about the game much. They just sort of showed some gameplay from it. The combat looks good enough, but I definitely want to see more from this game before sort of passing judgment on it, but I do think it has some potential. Solar Ash was up next, which was another stylized indie game that we have seen before. Once again, this is a lot of stuff we've seen before. I do like the movement of the main character, as it's very fast and fluid while traversing the world, but I don't see myself playing this game. It will be coming to the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 later up this year. A Five Nights at Freddy's game was revealed next. I've never played any of these games before, and I honestly don't really have any sort of desire to, but I guess the environments looked kind of cool, as I like the sort of dichotomy between like a kid's play world and scary animatronics trying to kill you. So I do think that is interesting, but I don't know. I never got into the Five Nights at Freddy's games, and I don't think this will bring me into the universe. But yes, there is a new Five Nights at Freddy's game. Oddworld Soulstorm was up next, and once again, I feel like I've seen this game entirely too much, as it's coming out on pretty much all the consoles, and I think every company has shown this game in one capacity or another. It was a deep dive into Oddworld Soulstorm, which I guess is fine for like huge fans of the series, but I'm not a huge fan of these games, especially not to the point of where it takes up a ton of time or anything like that. It looks like an Oddworld game. It looks pretty much similar to the Oddworld games that we've been playing for many years now. I don't really understand why they're showing this game so much. Now, it will be coming out on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 on April 6th, and it will actually be free for PlayStation Plus members for a month. So if you have PlayStation Plus, you'll be able to check out this game. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of cool. Next up was Kina, Bridge of Spirits, which is actually a game I'm really looking forward to. I think this game looks absolutely fantastic. The game looks absolutely beautiful. A 3D action platformer game that reminds me of, you know, The Legend of Zelda, and even a bit of The Legend of K, which was a super underrated 3D platformer that not a lot of people played, but sort of that staff combo stuff that she's doing in the game definitely makes me feel like The Legend of K sort of stuff. There's some nice slowdown mechanics you can use when you're in battle. There's of course big ass creatures, a vast landscape to explore. It looks absolutely fantastic. Now, this game was originally supposed to be a March release. It will now be coming out on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 on August 24th. So yeah, this game still has a little bit of ways away to go. You know, Ratchet and Clank and Returnal will both be coming out before this game comes out, which does kind of suck because I really want to play this game. I think it looks absolutely awesome. Next up was Deathloop, which, I mean, once again, is a game that I feel like we've seen a million times already. Now, Deathloop was, of course, originally supposed to be a launch title for the PlayStation 5, and it ended up getting pushed back. And I just feel like I've seen this game so much already. Like, give me some mystery with it. Give me some sort of surprise with it. Of course, it is a first-person shooter where you're going to die and then time rewinds and then you sort of do it again. I mean, I guess the concept is interesting enough, but I don't know. Just ever since I've seen this game, I've always just been kind of mid on it. Like, it didn't really feel like something that would lure me in and make me want to buy it on day one. And, you know, maybe when it's on a discount, I'll snag it, but I'm not picking it up on day one. I will say that the song they had going on while the Deathloop trailer was happening was absolutely awesome. It was like a James Bond style song, and I really enjoyed that. But as far as the game is concerned, it definitely just looks very mid to me. And the final thing that we got to look at was Final Fantasy VII Remake for the PlayStation 5. Now, when it comes to the PlayStation 5, you're actually getting new story content in the game as well with Yuffie. You'll be able to play as Yuffie and her friends and basically go in Midgar and do some brand new story-based missions, which I think is pretty cool. You know, I definitely enjoyed my time with Final Fantasy VII, so this is a nice incentive for the PlayStation 5 version of the game. Now, this DLC will be available on June 10th for the PlayStation 5, and they also showed off Final Fantasy VII Remake, the core experience for the PlayStation 5 as well, in terms of things like what has been improved. And honestly, it looks very good. The game looks nice. It was a great looking game to begin with. There's more lighting, different effects, improved textures. I think the world of Midgard definitely sort of comes to life a bit more so in the PlayStation 5 version than the PlayStation 4 version. There'll be a graphics and a performance mode included in the game as well, and there's less loading times. Now, like I said, I already played and beat Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 4, and I absolutely loved it, but I don't think the extra graphics will make me want to play through the entire game again or anything like that. But they did say that there's going to be a free upgrade for PS4 owners of the game, and you can actually transfer your save file over to the PlayStation 5 as well, which is cool because it looks like the Yuffie content is only coming to the PlayStation 5 version of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So overall, what did I think of the Sony State of Play event? Well, I mean, I'm trying not to be too negative here because I do love my PlayStation 5 like I love my Xbox Series X and I love my Nintendo Switch. I love video games in general, but I just feel like this presentation had problems with showcasing stuff we already knew about. You know, a game like Returnal, Kina, Deathloop, Oddworld. I feel like the first time you saw these games, you sort of got a grip on whether or not you wanted to play this game or not. You know, it's not like they're showing anything really new or something different to entice you with this. You already know if you want want to buy this game or not. There's something like the Crash Bandicoot update, like you could have done that just on a random trailer on Activision's channel. I don't feel like it needed to be involved in this event. Now, the Final Fantasy VII Remake stuff was cool and did belong in this event because obviously there is more to it than just increase in visuals. They're adding in additional story content as well. Just overall though, the pacing was sort of all over the place. I feel games like Oddworld Soulstorm were just way too focused on it, something like that. So, you know, it was a decent watch, but I definitely expected a bit more. I think one thing that we need to learn is 2021 isn't going to be that big of a year for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X games. Right now we have games like Returnal that have a release date, Ratchet & Clank and Kina, and the Final Fantasy VII game, but beyond that we really don't know all that much. We've already seen Gran Turismo 7 slip into 2022, and I wouldn't be surprised if other games do it as well. So obviously the timing and the real world situations and stuff like this probably did damper this event a bit, but just overall it was just kind of there. You know, it was something that I feel could have just been done in random trailers, maybe something that didn't need to be this whole big presentation, and maybe people's expectations were too high like they normally are, but usually I enjoy Sony's State of Play events, but this one definitely sort of missed the mark for me. But let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of the Sony State of Play event. Did you enjoy it? What games did you enjoy? And are you tired of seeing Deathloop and freaking Oddworld like I am? Because Jesus Christ, man, I feel like I've already played and beaten those games. And as always, folks, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Be sure to check out other videos on the channel. I'm sort of holding in a burp right now. It feels like it wants to come out, and I don't want to burp on camera. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.